My name is Pete, and welcome to my garage. Alright, fourth clutch is right here. So if we had a problem with overdrive, we would take a look at these clutches and see what's going on with them. Let's see if I can get this apart. Alright, snap rings off. Don't want to lose it. We'll pull our clutches out, we'll take a look at them. Boom, they look pretty good. Alright. Alright, cool. Also the piston and everything is in here, that we'll get to that later. Alright, fourth clutch, looks good, not alarmed. Yep, so this is going to be our direct clutch for third gear, right here. This is the one everybody dual feeds to beef it up a little bit, so I wonder if it might be one of our weaker links. Although, like I said, I don't think this transmission has too many weak links. As I pull them out, I always flip them over. And I also want to pay attention as I come out how they're oriented in there. We got flats and all that, but it doesn't look like whoever built this cared. Like, it doesn't seem to matter. Alright, we'll flip it all. And then it looks like we have a wave, a Belleville plate that acts like a wave plate in our newer transmissions. And those clutches look great. They look fantastic. Alright, that's great. So I'm not concerned. Not really concerned with that at all. I'll have to see what's going on with my my intermediate clutches. Okay, so we've checked a couple of our clutches already. The Overrun clutch is in here, which, to be honest with you, isn't really going to matter for my application, but I'm still going to check and make sure that it is okay. So I need to pop the snap ring off in here. Just make sure I move other stuff out of the way. Alright, so the snap ring's off. Actually, maybe I need to take the snap ring off right there. Let me get my small snap ring pliers and we'll see what we got. Alright, so this snap ring right here, it's an external snap ring, it's got the holes in it. So here's an instance where you use the snap ring pliers that actually have the nipples on them. So now whenever I push on them, since I moved them over there, as I squeeze them, they spread apart. And that's what I want right here. I want to be able to squeeze the snap ring and spread it apart. Don't spread it too far to where it distorts it. You just want to get it enough to where it comes apart. Okay. So now you can see my planetary comes apart. My input planetary there. And then also my input. This would be my overdrive's planetary. It's not really my input planetary. Maybe they consider it the input planetary. Okay, here's my turbine shaft right there. And I can see the Overrun clutch and the Overrun clutch roller right there. So now I've also got the snap ring already taken out, that one I already took out. Alright, we can pull those clutches out, and our Overrun clutches look absolutely flawless, probably because they've never been actually used. Because the only time they're ever used is in manual first, second, and third. So when towing something heavy and you don't put it in overdrive. So I'll stick those back in there for now. That's all looking good. And you can see the sun gear is actually part of this carrier right here that actually has the splines for the inside of the overdrive gear, or the overdrive clutches, or the fourth gear clutches. So I'm going to put that snap ring back in just so I don't lose it or lose track of where everything goes. Because right now I'm just in the checking things out phase to see what all parts I need to get from the trans part store. Alright, clutch pack clearance seems to be pretty good. We can measure this later. Alright, and you can see on our inner race right here, here's our inner race, that these rollers, they're spring loaded. And you can see on the inside, whenever this thing's forced this way, and it tries to rotate this direction, these rollers try to roll up these ramps, and therefore they're going to basically get bound up in between the race right there and this inner race. However, when it tries to turn back this way, it just compresses the springs and it rolls down into these grooves, and therefore it's allowed to spin in that one direction. And so that's kind of how these roller clutches work. Now, getting this back together might prove a little challenging because I got to get all those teeth lined up to match these teeth, all while rotating this direction. There it went. There you go. Get lined up with all those. And you also have to be kind of careful not to nick up these Teflon seals that sit on the end of that shaft too. Go. Alright, that's seated in there. It's back to normal. That all looked pretty good. Pretty excited about the way that looks in there. I'm still going to take it back apart and refresh it here, but I just want to make sure that I don't need to buy a bunch of hard parts, because it really sucks to make a whole bunch of trips back and forth to the transmission shop. So right there, that was our Overrun clutch. And we took a look at the gears on the inside, everything for the planetary right there. I need to look and see if they call that the input planetary, but it probably is just because it's at the top of the transmission. You can see where this grabs a hold for reverse. That drum's got some grooves on it. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that or not, but probably alright, just because for reverse. I say that and then it doesn't have reverse, and that really sucks. Oh hell, let's do it. Let's take apart the output carrier and see what we got. So, obviously we have our bushing that we're going to have to deal with, alright? Then we also have our shim. Now this one, the shim, it actually, yeah, it's fairly flat on both sides. This side has a sharper flat edge than this side. According to service information, I believe the flat edge is supposed to go up towards this bushing that's right there. So kind of pay attention to that whenever we're doing it. You can see the witness marks where everything was, where this sat in the bottom of the case and this was up against this part that's spinning. Alright, you can see this other bushing right here. It's got just a little bit of bronze showing. It's nothing too bad. Alright, I don't think this comes apart without pulling a snap ring. On my luck, it'll all fall on my hands. That looks the same both ways. So always pay attention to these things, because you don't want to take it out and then have it be different, you know, depending on if you got it flipped or not. So it looks the same both ways. There's also another shim that's in there. Always keep track of these things. Alright, these are two parts. I'm going to flip this over, and we have a snap ring that's inside this housing. Stay. Alright, sometimes the pocket screwdriver to get it out and then the pick to get under it works pretty good. Yeah, that one was tight. You know why it was probably so tight? Because there was a lot of weight on it. God, what an idiot. Okay. Alright, so inside of here, there's bushings. There's bushings everywhere in this transmission. Even bushings that are inside of here can cause problems. This one actually looks like it has a little bit of wear on it. Because this bushing, the lube that comes into this, looks like it also comes out of this hole right here that feeds that other bushing that was walked out of the case, right? So we want to make sure we have a good fit between here and this bushing, because the lubrication for all this comes through the center of that shaft, right? And so that shaft, as it fits in here, there is a lot of play. That's a crazy amount of play. So what can happen is that play in there, and you can see a little bit of wear on there, but that bushing right there, that's going to starve this one right there, because it's just going to leak out. It's like having bad bearings in your engine. So this one could have been getting starved of fluid, mainly because we had a worn bushing right there. I mean, there's a lot of play. There's a lot of movement like that. So I'm definitely going to have to get a new bushing for that. So a lot of these bearings on this transmission do come in multiple pieces, but this gives me this is a good time for me to check the output carrier here to make sure that it is not damaged and all the teeth on it are good. and the Torrington bearings that are in there. Okay, I can see all the teeth in there. That's looking pretty good. Now how in the world that is machined like that, I have no idea. It looks like it's different pieces, but maybe they're pressed together. Actually, I think this reluctor right here is pressed on to this housing right there. So this is the reluctor for the rear out, or for the output speed sensor, since this is splined to the output shaft. That's interesting. All right. So now I know I'm going to have to get a bushing for that part too. Alright, when all that fits together, and that snap ring somehow goes back on there without falling apart. But I'm going to need to keep that all together like this, just because I'm definitely going to have to do that bushing. So I'm going to stick all the parts back in there so I'm ready to go. So I definitely need to get a bushing or two. And I might just get a whole bushing kit. It might not be that much. I'll have to see what the cost is for a whole bushing kit. Okay. So our output carrier, we've gone through, we've taken a look at it. We've checked out our drum right here with the sprag for the output there. I'll have to see where that, that rides here on the direct clutch, or the center support. It's not the direct clutch, that's the center support. The direct clutch is right here. I believe this gets, yep, this is the direct clutch. This gets fed from that. This is the one that we might do the dual feed setup on. We'll go through that. A couple modifications need to be done to the case in order to do that also. All right, so I was a little concerned about, so we were a little bit concerned, lose those bearings, about our intermediate clutches here. Our intermediate clutches, those look just a little bit worn. They weren't too bad, but they were just a little bit worn. One thing could be that we have too much clutch pack clearance, right? There could be too much clutch pack clearance, or there could also be too little clutch pack clearance. Too little bit of clearance is going to cause them to drag and burn. Too much is going to cause them to slip a little bit. I don't think they've been slipping a ton, but we can air check this thing real quick. So this piece right here is actually the piston that pushes on these clutches, and you can see, I don't know if the light's right or not. All right, you can kind of see the witness marks where that pushes on that plate. So we can air check this. Now you got to be kind of careful because we don't want to blow out the seals, but it air checks through that hole that the bolt runs through the case. So let me grab some air real quick. I don't have it regulated down because my compressor's in the basement and I don't have a good regulator here anyway. And my gun even makes noise. Alright, so you can see our piston here. Alright, it sounds like I do have a little bit of a leak. I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to see if I have a problem with my piston seals. I might have a little lip seal issue or something like that. So we'll have to pop that apart. I don't know if you could hear the hiss on the video or not, but this thing was hissing. Okay, in order to get this off, I'm going to have to compress this spring down a little bit in order to get this snap ring off right there. Okay, there's a hole in the bottom of that, which I don't care for because this doesn't fit very well. It's about the same size as that hole. So I'm going to put a piece of plate or something underneath it. That looks safe. Jeez. There we go. Here, before I compress it, I want to make sure my hole for my gap in my snap ring is going to be easy to get to. Okay, so I got it compressed now. I got to get my snap ring pliers right there. Alright, snap rings off, and alright, snap ring, see ya. Now we have our return spring, flip it over. Alright, now, how are we going to get our piston out of here? Can we just pull it up? Oh yeah. Alright, we can just pull our piston up. We can take a look around. We have our lip seal right there, and then our inner lip seal does actually look pretty good. It's obviously going to get new seals whenever I put it back together. So it doesn't appear to be on the piston. And you can see here, here's where the hole comes in, or the hole. Here's where the air comes, or the fluid comes in. There's a hole right there. And it feeds this up through here. Okay, there is a little bleed hole right here to keep these clutches from applying on their own centrifugally. So that's designed to be like that. So that tiny little air that I heard is this bleed hole right there. So that is actually normal. So, you know, once I put some new seals on there, maybe it'll seal it up a little better than it was. I don't know, it might be okay. So far, that's all looking pretty good. Still don't need to buy a bunch of stuff. So what I use for lip seal installers, you can use like a quick trip cup, like a plastic cup from the gas station, or like you use an antifreeze jug or something like that and kind of cut a little, almost like a tongue depressor thing. And you can kind of run it around to get these lip seals to go in. Like that, voila. And actually, I didn't do anything for the outer lip seal. It's just not doing anything because it's been sitting so long. All right, well I'm going to put that back in there so I don't lose anything. I'm going to put snap ring on there. Set that back on there like that. Alright, what's left here? Alright, I believe this is my forward clutch right inside of here. So let's take this one apart. All right, we do have, looks like a little bushing right there. That looks pretty good. Got a bearing right there, bushing there looks pretty solid. And inside of this little piece inside of here is held in, but we got to get the snap ring off to see what we got going on inside. This is the one that's like stuff jingling around. It might be normal. Let's just see. Let's just see what's in there. Alright. Uh-oh. Here we go. Alright, so it looks like we actually do have a little bit of burned clutches. I flipped this one over. So this one's actually the backing plate. I flip this over and it looks kind of burnt right there. Here's the inner hub of it. Another bushing inside. There's bushings and spacers everywhere in this transmission. Alright, let's take a peek at our forward clutches. Yeah, we got a little burnt clutch action here. Alright. Yep, so these are burned. I mean, I wouldn't say they're scorched earth burned, but they're not great. They're definitely not great. And we got our little wave plate right here at the very end. All right, that's not great at all. I do need to see as far as feeding this thing to air check it. In order to get the piston to air check this, I got to put air to it. And it gets its air through the tiny little hole in the middle there, which is sealed by 2 Teflon seals. Now, I've seen those seals before, and I'm pretty sure it's these 2 seals right here. Right? So these 2 seals right there are what are going to apply fluid pressure to that forward clutch. That was close. Alright, so this is going to sit here. So this bushing that's right inside of here is very important to keeping those seals good. And that does appear, well, I do have a little bit of play right there. A little back and forth play. So there might be a little play in that bushing causing those seals not to be able to seal very well. Now the real question is, how do I get fluid to that forward clutch? We're going to have to look at a chart and see exactly how to do it, because I'm not 100% sure here without getting too crazy. I think it comes through this input shaft right here, so it's going to come through the pump, I believe, into this little spot right there. Let me add a little air to that and let's see what happens. So now that we have it stacked up, see if I can get in there. No, that's not it. Well, that same hole's on the other side. Okay, actually, that did actuate that forward clutch. Oh, where goes that? And it actually did move here. So I put air through the shaft, so the fluid goes up through the pump, out through the shaft and through there, So those Teflon seals are important there. There's Teflon seals up here, and there's the clutch right there, and it actually seemed like it was grabbing just fine. So I'm gonna, whenever I take this thing apart, I'm gonna have to definitely take a look to see if maybe, well, I gotta check my clutch stack up and everything right there. I wonder what's going on with this thing. I don't want to miss anything. I have to redo it. But at least we're getting to the bottom of it. But I don't think those clutches look very good. And those are in all forward gears. Those clutches are used in every forward gear. All right, well, let's get our piston compressor here. I got my opening right there. Just compress. Got it. All right, there it is. Almost had to talk dirty to it. All right. So now we got our spring. Sometimes I like to hook this in. Man. Well, that return spring kind of got bent a little bit there. Maybe that was from me. I'll have to bend it back whenever I put it all back together. Alright, we will remove this. You can see the lip seal right here. The outer lip seal looks pretty good, as does the inner lip seal. And there's also another lip seal in here, which is really weird, that faces upwards. Is that right? Okay. Because you always want the lips of the seal facing the fluid, right? So now we have this lip seal that faces upwards in there. Does the fluid only fill in this one spot? I'm wondering. Alright, I got to consult with service information. Am I supposed to have a lip seal that faces upward right there? I mean, it makes sense because there is a hole right there, and if fluid comes through that hole, it's going to fill this cavity right there, and that's probably why this is so tapered right there. But man, that is crazy. This is our forward clutch. This is stamped with the year 1993 that it was manufactured. This is a really early 80E. I can't tell what month that this piece was made, but it was made in 93. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't hang around until like 97, but you know, all the other indicators are saying this is a really early 80E. And you can't just force these down, because what it's going to do is it's going to roll this lip seal up. And so that's why I use some sort of lip seal installer, something like this. Alright, so you walk it around the outside, you walk it around the inside. I did the inside first because that was the first seal to touch. Then I did the outside, bam, it slid in. Whenever I do this for real with the new seals, I am going to use trans gel all over them. So the transgel also holds them in, but then at the same time, it kind of, well, it lubricates it as you go, as you get it down there. All right, nothing obvious other than it looks like I got a couple of bushings. I'm going to have to, also once I go back together, I'm going to have to, you know, get my clutch stack up and everything, my heights and my clearances correct. Because if there's, like I said, too much clearance, it could burn them up, or if not enough clearance, it's going to also burn them up. So that is interesting to say the least. I'm really didn't expect to see that because of the way the fluid looked. Yeah, so that fit right there. All that was there. Boom. So all that. Okay. So we've pretty much gone through all the sub-assemblies and checked them and made sure that they were okay. We have our two suspect clutches, first and second. So the forward clutch, the input clutch, was just this forward clutch. There's no other clutches applied. Unless you're in manual first or second, then it adds an extra band for a little extra power, a little holding capability. And then our intermediate clutch comes in second gear right there, which this one's upside down. And then we have our direct clutch, our third gear clutch, which is this one, comes on in third gear. And then fourth gear, we apply our overdrive clutch right here. So it's all pretty simple. But as simple as it is, it's so complicated. Now, in order for us to have good anything, we have to have good oil pressure. And in order to have good oil pressure, remember, for that forward clutch, it all comes through the shaft, the input shaft over here. So our input shaft. But that also comes through the pump. So inside the pump there's bushings. There is a very large bushing that's inside this pump. We might have to check into. Let me take the pump apart so we can take a look at it and see if we see some issues. Okay, now like in a 4L60E and most of our other transmissions, we have what's called a vane style pump. Not so much on this transmission. This one has what kind of pump? What style is this one? Anyone? I'll wait. Alright, we got the old moon and crescent style pump right there. And our cast iron pump body. So this is not a variable displacement pump. This pump is always pumping same amount of fluid, well, other than, you know, engine speed. But it can't phase the pump back and forth like a 4L60E's pump can. Now if we look in here, the front pump bushing, everything's pretty dirty on that bushing, but that's the one that supports the weight of the torque converter too. So that's the bushing that I was talking about as far as if you have a cracked flex plate or something that could possibly be damaged. And you can see when this one was put in here, they staked it in. All right, they staked it sideways to make sure that that thing didn't fall out. Alright, nothing really looks out of the ordinary on that part of the pump. We'll flip this over. We'll make sure everything's a little dirty right here because this was actually exposed to the elements or whatever this whole thing was exposed to for quite some time. There are a couple of valves here in the pump. Without looking up on SI, I'm assuming we have our boost valve for our pressure and probably a torque converter clutch valve, and then maybe something else. But we'll look that up here in class, and we'll see exactly what these valves are. There's one right there. So whenever you're checking valves, before you take it apart, you can just move them. Make sure they move. If they don't move, you might have issues. You know, that one doesn't move that way. It actually has to go that way. I have no way to push on it. Well, that valve, I don't have any way of pushing on it to make sure it moves, so I'm just going to have to pull it out. There is a little snap ring right there. A bunch of these valves I'm going to have to do that with because I can't actually get to them. There, that one. So you can see this valve right here. I can move it and it snaps back. Another small little valve on the end and the sides. There's actually quite a few valves in this pump. We'll have to look at it and see what the valves in the pump do during lecture because we're going to talk about some pumps and fluid pressure tomorrow. All right. So other than the valve body, we've looked at everything. All right. So other than the valve body, we pretty much have looked at everything. And I know we need to get some forward clutches. I might as well get some steels because actually I think the forward clutch and that direct clutch, so first and third gear, both use the same size as steels, if I'm not mistaken. And I think ones are a little different sizes than the others. So apparently, if you get a little mixture of steels, and supposedly if you get Turbo 400 steels, you can mix and match because they're a slightly different thickness too to get your thicknesses correct. So I know I need to get the rear bushing. I probably need to get really bushings for everything, just because I want to make sure that I have a good sealing for everything, just to make sure that it's going to be okay. I'll get new piston seals, the whole seal kit, and a couple of bands. Can you think of anything else that I'm missing? Got quite a bit of stuff in there that we talked about, other than the valve body. But we can take a look at the valve body next time. I'm not going to put it in this video. We'll do that next time. Training fluid all over the GoPro. Whew. All right, we're getting down in there. All the little sub-assemblies, once you get through those, then we know what we can get for a parts list. Because we don't want to go to the parts store a whole bunch of times. And for me, I got to drive all the way to Independence from Raymore. So it's about 30 minutes each way if I have to keep going back to a parts store. And man, it sucks to keep going back. And then who knows what's going on with it nowadays, or now with this whole pandemic thing. So, this is where we leave off till next week.